Alright, The Last Guest has to be one of the most famous Roblox movies known, and that for a good reason. It is also probably the reason why the director of the movie, Oblivious HD, is currently probably the #1 animator of the Roblox genre. This video should act as a recap to what happened in the famous Last Guest movie made by Oblivious HD. Although this video will explain it briefly, I would still highly suggest you guys just to straight up rewatch the movie if you want to, since in my opinion it's really not even that bad written, and it says a lot about a Roblox movie, since especially usually in the past, things are just tainted by nostalgia so badly that when you just decide to replay that game or rewatch that series, you're just usually just flat out disappointed. But Last Guest is really not that bad, especially for a bootleg Lego movie. Here's a little disclaimer, I used the 4 separate parts instead of the super movie, although if you rewatch Last Guest, I just recommend you to watch the super movie instead. There's not much more to say, like the video if you want to see more Roblox movie recaps, maybe if the video does well, I'll recap the Guest 666 series, or Blocks Watch, or I don't know, it doesn't even have to be by Oblivious HD. And without any further ado, here's my recap. So the story starts us off with a little blue-haired guest being born and then a time skip into his school years. From what he tells his mother before he goes to school, it seems like he's already pretty aware that people do not like him just purely because he's a guest. His mother tries everything to encourage him and that everything's going to be fine, and then the iconic words drop.
Be strong.
Always be strong.
Hey, look, it's a stupid guest!
But I'm sorry, I just can't do this. So, we're in the Robloxian world of Last Guest, where the protagonist, Guest 1337, is being discriminated against because, he's purely just a guest. The guests in this story are being hunted down, captured, tortured, enslaved, and killed by the terrorist Bacon Head organization. It seems to be some kind of racial thing, which, if this sounds a bit too familiar, yes, this movie took a lot of inspiration from a lot of historical events, stories, books, and other movies. Anyways, the Last Guest becomes an orphan child due to his parents being slaughtered by a Bacon on the playground. Luckily, he survives though, just because he was hiding under some little tower. Here in the orphanage is where Guest 337 gets introduced to Daisy, and they become, for now, good friends. She for some reason reminds him again that he is indeed the last guest.
I'm sorry about what happened to them. I can't believe you're one of the last guests.
Although he noticed that yesterday.
Thanks.
2 guests were shot dead at the Roblox Recreation Center this evening. The victims were believed to be one of the last remaining guests.
Anyways, they go back to the park later on, where they encounter multiple bullies, and well, the last guest cannot fend them off.
Come on then, fight me, tough guy. You weak, pathetic guy.
But then, the next character gets introduced and saves the day.
Your species died out.
He introduces himself as Matt, and becomes the closest male friend Guest 337 has. After that, we see them bonding over a few months or even a year. They spend some time in the orphanage until Matt one day abruptly comes in, telling them to hide because of an intruder. It turns out the last guest is still being targeted by the Bacon terrorists, and he luckily survives until the police arrives. But yet again, he's being traumatized. Another 10-year time skip into the future, where we get to find out that Daisy and Guest 337 actually got married and have a child. But something still doesn't sit right with Guest 1337. He goes to the bar with his friend Matt and discusses the idea of joining the military, where his friend Matt got so inspired by the idea that he'll also join him in the military. It's on now. The last guest gets in his iconic soldier suit and drives off. He meets his old bullies in the military and is now strong enough to kick their ass. Inside the military camp, they go through vigorous training and eventually go to war with the terrorists. The Robloxian army realizes they're getting outclassed and want to retrieve. But since Matt, last guest's best friend, gets shot in the chest, leaving guest with no more best friend, he goes all in, ballistic, uses no weapons, and kills so many bacons until he reaches the bacon leader, who wears a bandana around his mouth and looks like the one who killed his family. As a last-ditch effort, since guest 157 is already way too hurt to walk, he blows up the whole place with a grenade, which was pretty smart since there were gas tanks around and gas canisters amplifying the explosion. The family gets notified that the last guest died, and Robloxia honors him with a golden statue. This scene is very dramatic, and Matt, who turns out he survived, hands guest 1337's daughter a letter that was written by her dad before he went for the kills, reading, "Be strong, always be strong." In part 2, we get another 15-year time skip into the past, where we get introduced to a character called Jazz. He's a male Bacon whose father is the leader of the terrorist Bacon organization and constantly forces Jazz to work out and get stronger and stronger. It turns out Jazz has a female friend called Zara, who likes to go out and play with him in the forest. Jazz and Zara find an injured dog one day in the woods and notify Jazz's mom about that, only to find her bleeding out on the kitchen floor with a knife in her chest. We get a time skip into the future where Jazz admits he's still traumatized by that experience. He hates the guests because he believes one of the guests stabbed his mother in the chest, but Zara isn't so sure about that. The Bacon leader interrupts class to notify everyone that the elite Bacon soldier training, where the Bacons can become elite soldiers by fighting each other in a Shark Tank-like style, is to see who's the toughest, is tomorrow. To no surprise, Jess in this competition beats all the other Bacons in the hand-to-hand combat and is now meeting his father, so the Bacon General, and a new Bacon called the Bacon Operator in the office, where it's revealed that there's another guest family still alive, with the child of the family being guest 555. It's revealed that Zara's father, who's a Bacon medic, is secretly helping the guests in the enslavement camp. Also, yes, there's an enslavement camp. Zara is tasked to bring the medical supplies and food to the guests, while Jess is spying on her, finding out that the best friend he has is a traitor. Zara gets confronted about this from Jess, and Zara is telling Jess that this is all propaganda and the guests do nothing wrong. Jess goes to the office to snitch on Zara, only to find the knife that oddly looks like the knife that his mother used to got stabbed with inside one of the shelves from his father's desk, so he doesn't end up snitching on Zara. Then there's this messed up scene where guests have to fight to death in this Coliseum style, where just for the entertainment of the Bacons, which makes Jess contemplate his life decisions, and so he secretly switches side to the guest side with Zara. They befriend guest 555, whose name is Rose, through the fence, and they all three bond together. After a bit of time, Rose tells Jess and Zara she's been chosen for the guest games, at the place where the guests had to fight to the death. Jess and Zara make a plan to get Rose out of there, since she's still quite young, but the plan fails and the operator finds out. Zara gets shot, and Jess is now in the enslavement camp, with no more family and no more friends on his side except Rose. Since the war is about to start, he actually gets out and is now able to fight in the war for the Bacons. As the war starts, Jess immediately wants to kill the operator, because Jess thinks the operator killed his mother, only for the operator to reveal that the one who killed his mom is his own father. So he actually gets knocked unconscious by a few Bacons and dragged into a jeep. Then we end up in the scene again where the last guest sends off the grenade, but it's revealed that Jess actually crawled out of the jeep and saved the last guest by pushing him into one of these trenches before the explosion went off. The general died, and Jess drives into the jeep to the medic's room while the last guest is still unconscious in the back of the jeep. It's revealed that guest 1337 is still alive. In the beginning of the third part, we get introduced to the captain and Molly, who have been notified that there's another unconscious but not dead soldier found on the battlefield. Well, which was Matt, and so they both drive to the body. The captain gets killed by a mysterious looking Bacon, and Molly makes a run for it, into the jeep. The operator is now promoted to the general due to the general being blown into pieces by guest 1337, and since he's worried about guest 1337's body not being spotted, he makes a giant search out of it, and the last guest regains consciousness and gets cleared up on the whole situation. Oh, and also it's revealed that these two ninja looking Bacons are highly skilled elite guards who apparently are very strong. Matt is somehow rising up Molly just by glazing his friend Guest 1337, and he was like a brother to him. Then we get this really cool scene.
You heard of that prodigy kid going around beating up all of our soldiers?
Yeah, that Jez guy. He beat the hell out of me and Pablito at the gym last year in training.
Hey, who's that?
What is a guest doing outside of the prison?
Then we make our way back to the enslavement camp with Guest 1337, which, he never saw the enslavement camp, and Rose reveals her backstory. Basically, she had a very sad and stressful life. Her and her family always being on the move, her father being killed by a bacon, and she and her mama are put into an enslavement camp. Then Rose tells Guest 157 and Jess on how to crash the guest games, and it's going through by some sort of weird tunnel. Anyways, they wait until the guest games start and enter that path. It's a dangerous path due to the amount of bacons in there, and they eventually make it to the end of the tunnel, only to find out they've been set up by Rose and the former operator, now the leader of course. And of course, Rosie was basically not a friend, but actually a spy, being threatened by the potential death of her mother if she doesn't obey the operator, and so she just obeyed to him. At the end of part 3, we also get to find out there's an elite terrorist bacon inside of Robloxia, spying and eventually trying to assassinate Guest 1337's daughter, wife, and best friend Matt. To start the end of the series, Daisy and Matt memorize on the good old times when they used to play in the park as an orphaned child, only to be followed by the elite spy. Matt finds out Molly and him get promoted to the lead of the Roblox army from now on. He gets checked up in the doctor's office, and whilst he's in there, Daisy and Guest 1337's daughter get ambushed in the playing room by the intruder that is a spy, only for Molly and Matt to scare him off. But since he's an elite for a reason, he manages to survive, sneak out, and escape the building. The new black captain tells Molly and Matt that they're gonna be marching at the bacon camp tomorrow, meaning an unexpected war. We cut back to Jess and Guest 337 and Rose, who explains her actions by telling them that her mother's life was on the line and she did not want to be the cause of her mother's painful death by not obeying to the operator. All of a sudden, Zara's father comes in, knocking 3 low-level soldiers unconscious with a needle and giving the group a chance to run for it. They want to re-enter the enslavement camp to save the guests stuck inside there, only to be greeted by an army of bacons, but good ones, that want to help Jess and the others. Then they go ahead and form a big army of guests and bacons, and then it's war day. Molly and Matt and the captain realize they're being outmatched yet again in soldiers, but only for the bacons and guest group to step in and making them basically reinforcement and making it a relatively even fight. Basically, Molly and Matt kill the one elite bacon soldier, Jess kills another elite bacon soldier, and then Guest 1337 almost loses to the leader, only to be saved by Rose of all people. And eventually, Jess is the one who finishes off the former operator in an epic 2v1 duel and saving the day. That's basically it with the terrorist organization, and the day is saved. Guest 1337 returns home to his family, Rose is still alive and reunited with her mother properly, and we skip forward to this wholesome scene where everyone is happy and having fun at the grill party at Guest 337's house.
Do you ever dream of a world where there's only peace and happiness?
A world where bacons and guests live together in harmony.
And every Sunday we'd have a nice hot barbecue with all the sausages and burgers we could ever dream of.
Yeah, you can keep dreaming about that one.